Okay, this video is going to be about HTML tables. It's another way of organizing your website content. Tables today are used for tabular data. And I thought we'd do a little history lesson before we get into Dreamweaver and the tables. I'm going to open up a website. This website is called the Wayback Machine. It archives websites from way back. And I went ahead and put Northern Virginia Community College in here, and we're going to browse. And it's going to find all the old Nova websites. I'm going to click on here. Up here it shows a little bar and shows you when the Wayback Machine captured the college's website. I'm going to go ahead and just click in this range. Okay, this was one of the first websites the college created. All right, this website was actually created using tables as a layout tool. We don't do that anymore. I mean, that is definitely internet history, but we used to create complete websites just with tables. Let me go ahead and just for fun click this range here, see what comes up. Okay, this one actually is a bit modern, more modern. It is using CSS layout principles such as divs, but again, way back in the day, we used to use tables. Now we just use tables for tabular data. Wonder what we're going to get if we go way back here. See if we get the same website. Yeah, still up. Now I actually used to work for the college in the web design department, and I'm very, very familiar with this website. If we go to Loudon, for instance, let's see if that one comes up. Yeah, a super simple website. Back then, all the different campuses had a different website look and feel. Again, built with tables. Okay. Yeah, this goes back to 2003. Anyway, we're going to use tables in a design today based on modern principles. All right, I am going to open up Dreamweaver. Okay, I've got some old pages open here. I'm going to close these and open up a new page. All right, create new. HTML, none, create. And I'm going to go ahead and save this right away. File, save. I'm going to navigate to my USB, Art116, named folder, and I'm just going to call this tables demo. And save. First, what we're going to do under the insert menu, we're going to insert a table. Okay, you get this dialog that pops open. First off, when you're inserting a table, you can decide how many rows you want, how many columns you want, how many pixels as far as the width you want, and I'll just leave the defaults right now. If you want a border thickness, if you want any kind of space, cell padding, I'll go ahead and put 5 in here and cell space in here. And as far as the header, we're going to choose none. Now, if you chose one of these other ones, if you chose left, all the items in the left column of the table would be bold. In this case, all the items on the top would be bold, and then you've got both. Now, tables in Dreamweaver, now as we use them, are very much like you would use tables in Word or Microsoft Word. Now, down here, you would put information for accessibility, such as the name of the table and what the table is about. Just for simplicity purposes, I'm just going to skip that for right now. And then Dreamweaver puts a simple table in your design. If I go ahead and pull on the side, I can expand that table. I can type in that table. I'm just typing on my keyboard. Let's type in here. And you see what just happened? It shifted. And tables will do that in Dreamweaver. That was one of the challenges using tables to create layouts in the past. I'll go ahead and type in here, dog. Again, I could fill them out. Now, up here, you can see the cell padding and the cell spacing. If I open up my property palette, okay, and click on the edge of the table, I can see that I've got the properties for the table. Again, the property palette is sensitive to what you've selected. I could come in here and I could change the rows and the columns. I'll go ahead and change the columns here to 6. Okay. I could change the rows to 5 if I wanted to. I could change the pixel width. Maybe I'll turn it to 600 and it expands. I could change the cell padding. I'll use a larger number this time. Okay. And the word dog is moved from the edge of the cell. And the cell spacing, this time I'll do 15. And the cell spacing is the space in between the cells. Okay, the border, I'll go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. I'll do 5. Okay, and then I'll go ahead and preview real quickly. Okay, again, you can see the information on the table here in the browser. I'm going to go ahead and change something now. So I'm going to close my browser, come back here, click the edge of the table. I'm going to take off the border. Okay, and now I'm going to preview again. And now it's invisible. Now, when we were building layouts way back when, this is how we would make the layouts, with the borders and the cell padding being invisible. So it was kind of a trick, kind of a hack to do it that way, and definitely much more of a challenge when designing complete websites. Probably why they were so simple back then as well. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and select this one and just delete it. Okay, we're going to create a more complex table. So I'm going to go Insert, Table again. This time I will do 8 rows and maybe 8 columns. Maybe I'll pump the width of the table up to 800. I'll leave the border on for right now. I'll leave the cell padding and cell spacing to 5, and I'm going to keep it at none right here. And I'm going to go ahead and say OK. Now what you can do is you can scroll through your cells like this. You can come down here. You've got actually 2 icons. I can't do the second icon right here because it splits, and that's not what I want to do. I want to merge. Okay. Now if I click back in here, and now that I can split them, and it asks me how I want to split. Do I want to split the rows, or do I want to split the columns? That cell, and maybe I will do 2 and say OK. And it split it up, okay? And you can pull these, but at some point you can't anymore because the table's getting too complex. I'm going to go ahead and merge those again. It's a good reason to merge them. You might want to merge a cell if you want to use just the top for information, such as, I'm going to type in here, my 5 top favorites. So maybe I'm making a table, a tabular data about my favorite things in the world. Favorites. Okay. Maybe I want this side of my table to be numbers since I want 5. Maybe I'll come up here. No, I'm going to change my mind. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to type 1. I'm going to come over here and type 2 and so forth. Okay, I'm going to leave that one blank for now. I'm going to come up the top here and maybe I want to list out my favorite fruit. I'm going to type in here meat, color, sports, maybe animal, maybe my favorite month of the year, and obviously you could fill in here, maybe I've got a favorite day of the week. Okay. All right. What I could do now is I could select the top here and I could give it a background color. Given the table a background color, I can come down here and change the alignment to center. Okay, and I really can't use this alignment tool just yet because of how my table looks. Actually, I can actually come down here and expand it. Now, if I come back here, the vertical alignment is the default, which is the center, but I could change it to the top, back to the middle, bottom, and so forth. Okay, I'm going to take it back to the middle. Maybe I'll go ahead and give these cells, I'm just selecting them and I'm holding on my mouse and I'm pulling across the table, and I'll go ahead and maybe do a lighter color. Okay, I'll go ahead and fill in the table. I'm going to fill it in, probably pause and come back with it's all filled in. But at this time, you can go ahead and list out your favorite fruits, like an apple, for instance. Okay, I've got my table filled out. I could come up here and I could pull these cells and I can change the size. I could even come here and change the height of these as well. I'm going to go ahead and preview in the web right now so we can take a look. Okay, again, it looks like a table that you might expect to see in like Word. I'll go ahead and make some changes. I'll come down here, select the edge again, and I'm going to get rid of the border again and increase the cell padding maybe to 10. Okay, and I'll go ahead and preview again. Definitely these days we do need to see the borders. The table is a little bit harder to figure out without it. So I'm going to go back to Dreamweaver, select the edge, and go ahead and put that border back in. Okay, besides putting text, I spelled that wrong, I can also put a table in a table, meaning I could come down here, or I could, it doesn't really matter where I go, I'll come over here and I'll go insert table. Maybe I'll do one that's smaller, 4 rows by 2 columns, and maybe I'll make it 200 and say okay. So I've got a table in a table. I'm not sure why you might want to do that. Maybe you're doing, instead of doing a table about your favorite thing, maybe you're doing stats or something like that. Maybe you're doing about baseball players and their runs and their hits and their outs, or I guess that would be a pitcher, but you know, stats, batting average and that sort of thing. You can also put images in a cell. I'll just go ahead and type in here. Okay, I'm just going to pick another cell. I'll just come down here and use this one since it's empty. And I'm going to go insert image. My images folder, and I'm going to pick a fairly small one. Maybe I'll use the earth here and open it. Okay, now you can use tables in your layout. You could insert a table in a div, and a lot of times I'll see students that think that this is a good way for maybe displaying some of their artwork, and it could be. I mean, that's one reason you could use it, a table these days. Maybe you're putting, you know, portfolio pieces in here. You can do all sorts of things. What I want to do now is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. Get rid of that. I'm just selecting and deleting. And again, the biggest problem with tables were the shifting. Okay, and it's hard to get all the columns the same width if you just go in here and randomly and pull. But I could come over here, and since that word is green, I give it a background color of green. This one, I'll select this cell by clicking in it, and I'll do yellow, and so forth. You are required in the next exercise to put background colors in your cell, so that's why I'm going through this. I'm on brown. Now you can use style sheets to also stylize your table. We're not going to go into that much complexity with this, but you could go ahead and make a selector for your table tag. Oh, that's actually something we should look at. Another good reason for not using tables these days is look at all the code that's generated with this table tag. Table body tag, and then you've got the width and height here, and then you've got TR for table row, TR for table row, TR for table row, and so forth. TD stands for table data. So I've selected this one, and I can see that color is highlighted, but it's a crazy amount of code that gets generated with a table. All right, what else you could do is you could select all the bottom cells. You could go under the edit menu under table, and you could also merge your cells that way. Oops, I keep missing it. Table, merge cells. You could delete a row. I could go ahead and delete that row and it disappears. I could go edit table again. I've got some new options. I could now insert a row. Okay. All right. I'm going to do that one more time. I'm going to click down here, grapples. I'm going to come down here and go edit, table. Look at all the different options I have here. I could insert a row again. Okay, now it puts it above the one that I had selected. So keep that in mind as you're doing it. I'm going to go ahead and select these two rows, and I'm going to go edit, table, delete rows. I'm going to go ahead and preview again. Okay. Again, if you select the edge of the table, oops, I closed my property palette. Okay, you're going to get the table properties, and again, you could select a row. You could come down here and change the vertical alignment. Okay, and I could do center, so it's centering the text. It's a little bit hard to see because my cells are a little bit small. Let me go ahead and select over here. Middle again. That's middle on the alignment. I could shift it up to the top. Again, my cells are just a little bit, it's at the top here, a little bit small, so it's a little bit harder to see. And I could do bottom. Okay, that's actually it about tables. Now for the next exercise, what you're going to do is I'm giving you a design. You're going to put your cursor in the section where you're supposed to add the table, and you'll be going insert table. Okay, this will come up and you can insert. So this one actually inserted the table where my cursor was. If I wanted one at the bottom, I'd actually go to the end of this table. I'm actually going to put my cursor right after that. I'm actually down here. So I found the end of the table tag, and I could go insert table, and okay, so it puts it after the last table. Now tables used today are again for tabular data, certainly not for the complex things we used to do with tables in the past.